Hi everyone, I'm Lizzie from Hive Knits. It's really nice to speak to you all. Well, I'm speaking to my phone, which is a little bit weird. Never done this before. Welcome to my podcast. That feels really strange saying that. I'll probably look back on this in episodes to come and cringe, but yeah, welcome to episode 1 of my podcast. I think I'm going to call it Hive Knits and Natter, because a little bit of knit, a little bit of natter. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching. It's just really hard to envisage anyone watching this, but try and keep myself under control. This is all a bit spontaneous. I've been inspired by various people who I'll mention in a minute to try and dip my toe into the world of knitting podcasting. I didn't even know this was a thing until a month or so ago, and now I'm hooked. I've got my tea, I've got my handy notebook of ideas, scribbles and expectations, and I've also got a snack. Tea and snacks are pretty important in my life. This is a Biscoff chocolate brownie, which my boyfriend's sister made for his birthday a couple of days ago. Highly recommend, very delicious. So I will be nibbling on that as we go through. See, I'm armed, ready to go. Let's just see what happens. I'll put this on there. So, I thought, I've kind of briefly written down what I want to be in this podcast. Whether I stick to that or not is another matter. But I briefly thought I'd have a little bit of a chat about me, why I'm doing this, and then delve into the knitting. Yeah, so I'm Lizzie, Hive Knits over on Instagram. I'll try and do the fancy things where you add the writing, and then I'll put everything in the description below as well. Get me? Sound like a YouTuber already? I've been knitting, I actually had to go and look this up just now in take 1 because I didn't know the answer. I've been knitting since February 2019, I now realise. Probably a little bit earlier than that actually, but that's when I started Hive Knits on Instagram. I work as a doctor. I'm currently training to be a GP, general practitioner, here in the UK. I live in Manchester with my partner. I'm currently filming in our flat in Manchester. It's really weird weather today. It's been really hot and sunny. It's still warm, but it feels like it might rain, and it's really windy. Classic England / Manchester. So I'm not wearing any knitwear because it's too warm, but I thought I would give a nod to the Hive Knits situation with my bee t-shirt, which I love. Hive Knits and the bees and everything kind of fits into Manchester because Manchester's symbol is a worker bee. Manchester's got a big industrial history. I moved here 10 years ago this year, which is crazy. I can't believe that time has gone so quickly. I'm originally from the south of England, from the southwest, Somerset. I grew up there, and then I moved to Manchester for university, for medical school, and I have stayed here ever since. I met my partner living up here, and like I said, now I work as a doctor, as a trainee GP in Manchester. I started knitting when I was further back in my medical training, when I was on placement in GP practice, and we had really strange setup to the day. So we had clinics in the morning, then a big break, and then clinics in the afternoon. And in the big break in the middle, the practice receptionists taught me to knit, and it's just kind of snowballed from there really. So I've been knitting for just over 2 years. Seems like longer. I've just finished a night shift, which might explain why I feel a bit strange and why this spontaneous decision to film this podcast has occurred. So I did a night shift last night, slept for about 2 hours probably in the day yesterday. It was really hard to sleep yesterday because A, it was really hot, B, I always struggle before a night shift because when do you sleep? You sleep the night before, it's just a nightmare. But it was also the England football was on and we live in a block of flats, so there was a lot of like shouting and music, and yeah, didn't really sleep very well. Did my night shift and then had about 2-hour nap this morning. So I'm in a strange mixture of really tired and a bit hyperactive. And I think that's where this spontaneous decision to film this podcast has come from. I've been thinking about it for a while, but didn't know if it was really me, didn't know if it was something I could really do. I've never really sat and spoke to a camera before. I speak to people all the time in my job, but this is really different somehow. But yeah, I've been inspired by a few friends on Instagram who've started doing things like this. Mainly Penrose Knits, love her podcasts, and she gave me some really great useful tips for this today, so thank you, Laura. Also, I love watching Caroline's Knits podcasts. I just feel like she's really on my level in the project she chooses, the yarn she chooses, the type of things she discusses, and then also shout out to Knit Slips as well. I was on his podcast, and I think that's kind of what started this ball rolling with podcasts and talking about knitting in this way. So yeah, I think there's loads and loads of different knitting podcasts. I haven't watched half as many as I want to watch, but those three are the ones that I kind of started watching and kind of like get really excited when there's a new episode out. Yeah, so you guys have inspired me. Thank you. So I got home and I had my sleep and I thought, what am I going to do to keep myself awake? And it is quite a challenge because all you want to do is sleep, but then if I sleep any more today, I won't sleep tonight, and then we're in a whole world of trouble. So what better to occupy myself than some random venture I've never tried before? One more reason that I feel like it's the right time to do this, and I'll go into this in more detail a bit later on. I just feel a bit like I'm in a knitting rut at the minute, and I kind of know why and I kind of don't know why. I've decided to call it Project Panic because it's like, I love alliteration, and I was trying to think, what is it that I'm feeling? And essentially, as you'll see, I've got so many projects on the go. Some for me, some for others, some that aren't even projects yet, and I just feel a bit. But every time I've sat down to try and do something, I feel like I'm distracted and I've got too many things and I can't decide what to do. So in a way, this podcast is probably as much for me as it is for anyone else, because I thought if I can just sit and kind of go through what I've got on the go to kind of remind myself, but also share with you guys, because I love watching people share their projects and what they've got on. It might help kind of remind me of what I've got on the go and see a bit more perspective and like put things in order of what to do. So maybe that'll work. I'll let you know. So I think that's all the chit chat. Gonna have a bit more tea and a bit more brownie. Probably cut this bit out because no one wants to see me drink. So good. Pete and that's my partner. we've recently discovered, I know we've been in a hole, Biscoff spread. It's just amazing. All the goodness of a biscuit in a spreadable form that you can transform into anything. Eat it from a spoon, put it in a cake, great on pancakes, the list goes on. Very good. I'm not sponsored by Biscoff, although if you're out there, say no more. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce you to the reason I'm having project panic. My whips. Some podcasts like Caroline's and Laura's, Caroline's Knits and Penry's Knits, they've got a great structure, finished objects, whips, acquisitions. I don't have any finished objects that I finished recently because they're all whips. I've got 8 whips. 8! That's a lot for me anyway. So 3 of them are actively on the needles. 3 have been shelved for various reasons, which I'll explain. 1 I'm due to start soon, and I'll explain why. And 1 is still an idea. I thought maybe I'd just go through them. They're on the floor in front of me. Show you, chat a bit about them. And then after that, just got a little bit of chat about Project Panic. Maybe I need a better, I'll try and think of a better name for it. And as I talk more about it, you can let me know how you would describe it. So whips, then a bit of chat. Stay for all, some, none of the above. Whatever you wish. So, my first whip is my Aosta sweater. So this is a whip that is number one of 3 actively on the needles at the minute. I'll just show you. Here it is. This is so much fun. Where to start with this? So, first things first, the pattern is the Aosta sweater by Sophie, my friend on Instagram, the Knit Purl girl. Fabulous person. Fabulous person, fabulous patterns, fabulous cats. She's got loads of patterns now, and they all look really lovely, and they're mostly based around the Andalusian stitch, which is this stitch here, and it looks far more complicated than it actually is. It's essentially 3 rows of stockinette and then 1 row of rib, and it makes this lovely texture. It's gorgeous. So this is made with We Are Knitters, the Petite wool. I think it has a few different yarns you can use. The We Are Knitters, the Merry wool, We Are Knitters, Petite wool, and a couple of others which I can't remember, so I won't ruin it and guess. But I chose, oh, where's my natural gone? Here it is. I chose natural and boom, this crazy colour, neon yellow from We Are Knitters. I'm trying to be a bit more adventurous with colours because I realised that all of my whips and recent projects were kind of all like either neutrals or very pale pastels, which is lovely, but I was like, no, 2021 I'm going to try and be a bit brighter and bolder with colour, which, as you'll see, I feel like done okay with. Can't get much brighter than this. I always feel like I have to be really careful because of my hair. It's quite a niche colour, and I always think, oh, I can't wear this, I can't wear that. So I decided to try and break that rut I was in by just adding like a pop of colour. So I've gone for neon on the collar, on the ribbing, bottom ribbing, and also on the cuffs. I kind of agonised for a bit about whether to just do the collar and whether to do the ribbing and the cuffs as well, but I'm glad I did. I think it works quite well as a whole thing. So as you can see, I've got one sleeve done and one sleeve left to go. This is a theme with my projects. I seem to have body and one sleeve done and then just not the other sleeve. It's how I like to leave things at the moment, apparently. So this project is quite special because my mum and dad live really far away. So I live in the north of England and they live in the south, and they've recently moved even further south. So now I live on the south coast in Devon, which for anyone not familiar with UK geography is essentially almost one end of the country to another. It's about 5 to 6 hours driving time, which in the UK is a long time. I know for some countries like that's nothing, but here in the UK, like anything over like an hour and we're like, oh, it's a long way. So that, yeah, it's a long way. I miss them a lot, and it's not been easy with COVID and restrictions and not being able to meet and travel. But one thing I'm so grateful for is that we've had like FaceTime and we've been able to chat, and essentially Mum and I made a little mini knit along of Sophie's, the Aosta sweater pattern together. I bought her the pattern and some yarn to make the pattern for her Christmas present, which she absolutely loved. And then I suggested, oh, why don't I'll buy yarn as well, and obviously I had the pattern and we'll make it together, which was actually so fun. It was a great way to keep in touch with her, and also like she did quite a lot of knitting when she was younger, but she'd never done like a top-down construction before or a raglan, so I was kind of able to like teach her over FaceTime, which was really fun. More difficult than it sounds, especially because when you're trying to show someone something on FaceTime, it's all the wrong way round. She didn't realise it's kind of like showing yourself something in the mirror. So trying to show her like make one lefts and rights and all that stuff that's just, you take it for granted when you're looking at it. It was a challenge, but she rose spectacularly to the occasion. She did so well. Yeah, hers is gorgeous. It's the We Are Natters Petite wool in ochre, which I saw in the flesh the other day when I went to visit, and it's such a nice colour. Might try it. It's a darker yellow than I thought. I thought it was going to be a very like bright mustard yellow, but it's not at all. And she's done hers all in one colour, like not the two colours like mine. So yeah, it's just been really lovely to be able to do that and chat together and like make the sweater as we went along. She is halfway through one of her sleeves because she ended up doing another project for a friend, so I'm a little bit ahead of her, but not too far ahead, and I just think it would be really cute when we can both wear them next winter and have a little twin in our Aosta sweaters. I would definitely recommend the pattern. I think it's really well written, and the finished, well, nearly finished product is really lovely, and will be a good like transition from like late summer to autumn to winter, I think, with a pop of neon. I should say that this like neon pop was inspired by, there's an account on Instagram called Yarn Stash, and she made I think it's called the Classic Garter Sweater by Kat and Lenny, and I saw that she'd made it with a contrast colour collar, and I saw it months and months and months ago and thought that's really cool. I'd love to do something like that, and I just was waiting for the right pattern, and there it is. Absolutely love the folded collar as well that's on here. Such a dream. It's a technique I first did on the September sweater, I think. Yeah, I'm a convert. Next, whip number 2 that is actively on the needles and not shelved is a make that's not for me, that's for somebody else. Custom order. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that later, so I'll just leave that for now. It's actually the second time I've made this pattern. I made it for myself last summer, and then I'm now making a second version in a different colour. So why don't I just say what it is. So this is the Seasons Change cardigan by the Knit Stitch, Melanie at the Knit Stitch, who, while we're talking about it, just want to say, like, congratulations on releasing a kit with We Are Knitters. That's amazing. Wouldn't we all just love that? It's incredible. She works so hard. Her patterns are amazing. You really deserve it, Melanie. I'll do a cutaway to the version I made myself. I finished it last July, and I made it with We Are Knitters, the cotton in olive. Really lovely. I was a test knitter for this pattern last summer. It was my first ever test knit. I was really excited. It's such a lovely pattern. I think I ended up making it a little bit longer than the pattern specified, but I really like that length, and I'm making it the same length again for this second version. Again, theme. I've got one sleeve to go, so I've done the body and a sleeve, and I'm working on the second sleeve. This is the We Are Knitters, the cotton in pearl grey. Such a nice colour. It's somewhere between grey and brown, like a taupey colour. You can see it there. Yeah, beautiful. And their cotton's really soft. I've actually never used another pure cotton. I've used a couple of cotton mixes. Yeah, really nice for summer. I think most people have probably tried out the cotton. If you haven't, I definitely recommend it. So this is the second sleeve. It's got like a twisted rib cuff, which is really lovely and makes for like quite a nice tight cuff. And then you can see the leaf pattern, Melanie's trademark leaf pattern, emerging there. That's the wrong side. So that will sit like this. I've already made, oops. Oh, here it is. Lost my first sleeve. This is the other sleeve. Just needs sewing onto the body when it's all finished. So it'll sit like that. And here's the body. Oops. Really lovely leaf pattern that you can see there. Nearly done with this one. It has taken me ages, and Amy, if you're watching, I'm really sorry. I joked to you last year that it'd be ready by Christmas, and now we're nearly at this July. So I'm really sorry. Life has happened. It's coming. It's really nearly ready. And now it's summer, I feel a bit more like knitting this again. Like, don't really feel like knitting with cotton in the winter. Don't know if anyone else feels like that. So that's that one. Guys, I've had my first podcasting nightmare. Essentially just recorded almost all of the episode, and Pete got back, so I got up, paused the video, and saw that it had only recorded half an hour, and I'd probably recorded an hour and a half. Oh, so I lost a third of it. I think it was because my phone ran out of storage. Should probably have checked that beforehand. Rookie error, amateur podcaster. We move on, we learn. So now I'm going to re-record, which is fine. It's all good. Being chilled out about it. It's all good. Spot the difference. Brownie's gone. Stress eating. So I was just about to show you my third whip, which is on the needles at the moment. So without further ado, here is the popcorn cardigan. It's really dinky. I think this is size 3 to 6 months. I think it's the second smallest size in the pattern for a toddler. So this is by Sweet Dream Studio. On the pattern they're called Sweet Dream Studio. On Instagram their handle is Sweet Dreamy Studio. So I'm not quite sure which is right. But yeah, this is their pattern, the popcorn cardigan, and this is made in Drops Merino Extra Fine in colour 26, and this colour is called Pistachio. I love this yarn, it's really squishy, it's a lovely soft merino. I've used it a few times because you might recognise this situation. I've made a couple of other things in it which I will explain in just a second. But yeah, really nice, would really recommend this. It's very reasonably priced, as is all Drops yarn. 100% merino wool. Recommended needle size is 4mm. And I think that's what this is knitted on. Might be wrong about that, it might be 3.5. It is 3.5, I've just remembered, and the ribbing is in 3. So yeah, really cute pattern, essentially stockinette top down raglan cardigan with added bobbles. Bobbles, I have a love-hate relationship with them. I think it's because I've done them quite a lot now. I think they look great when they're finished and you've got this popcorn effect, but they are fiddly to make, especially when you get like around onto the really tiny sleeves and you're doing like double pointed needles. But with practice, you do get the hang of it, and like I said, especially for kid stuff, I think they do look really cute. Yeah, so you might recognise this because I've essentially made a couple of other versions. I made the same cardigan but in just one size up around September last year. One of, essentially where I work, I used to work in the same hospital in the A&E department, and one of the A&E consultants contacted me when she realised I was a knitter and asked me if I could make her toddler some form of popcorn bobble cardigan. So I was like, yes, sure. Looked about, found this pattern from Sweet Dream Studio, and she was like really happy with it. She like absolutely loves it. It was a bit big for her when I made it, but she's grown into it now and she looks really cute in it. Then in March of this year, one of the other A&E consultants, the original consultant's friend, contacted me on Instagram and said, would I be interested in commissioning like a surprise birthday present adult version of this so that they could match, because she loves matching with her toddler. And I was like, that's amazingly cute, yes, I'm in. So I had a look around. It was a significant birthday, so really cute, all the consultants in the department clubbed together to like pay for the materials. So I had a look around, looking to see if I could find like an adult size similar pattern, so I didn't have to like extrapolate the pattern myself, and happened upon a Nordic Knitting Tale Camilla's pattern for the popcorn bomber, which was amazingly similar to this, although not in its construction as it turned out, but in the finished object it looks very, very similar. So I made that with the same Drops Merino Extra Fine in Pistachio, and then we added some mohair in a pretty good colour match, if I do say so myself, from a computer monitor. This is Drops Kid Silk in apple green. They're a pretty good match, I thought. Popcorn Bomber is a really lovely pattern. A lot of Nordic Knitting Tales patterns are really lovely, and she has some good videos as well, if you don't mind having to have them on silent because they're not recorded in English, which is, personally, I don't find a problem. However, I didn't realise when I initially bought the Popcorn Bomber pattern that it was a very different construction to this top-down raglan, which you knit back and forth in rows with a knit side and a purl side. The popcorn bomber involved steeking, which for those unfamiliar, you can check out my Instagram. I've got a highlight saved, because steeking means cutting your knitting. Is horrifying, and yet the end result is incredible. But yeah, terrified me to start with. I didn't realise that's what the pattern needed. As soon as I saw it, I panicked and wrote to Camilla and said, I don't want to do it this way. Is it possible to hack your pattern, and would it work if I did it flat, and backwards and forth? And she was like, yeah, it would. So I was going to do that, and then I was like, get over yourself, try something new, and it was great. I definitely would do it again. I watched loads of YouTube videos. I practiced on a swatch, and then just did the same on the real thing, and it worked so well. I used the crochet method to reinforce, which again you can see on my Instagram grid, and yeah, it's a really good method. It makes really clean edge, and it means that you don't have to knit and purl. You can just basically make a sweater in the round, and then cut it and add your button bands. But it's terrifying because you essentially have to make the whole thing before you can cut it, otherwise there'd be nothing to cut. I didn't do the sleeves because I was like, if this goes really wrong, I don't want to have spent all the time on the sleeves, but it was absolutely fine. So I would recommend that to anyone looking to push themselves a bit further. So that was in March, and then the A&E consultant's friend really liked the toddler version of the cardigan, so she asked for this commission to be done, which I've nearly finished. Note the theme: body, one sleeve done, one sleeve not done. Told you. Just needs a sleeve and a button band, and then it's finished. The sleeves are a bit fiddly on this because they're so small. Need to use double pointed needles because I don't have any circular needles that are small enough, and I don't really don't get on well with the magic loop method, but it's fine. I don't actually mind double pointed needles that much anymore, so I don't think this will take me too long. It is coming soon, I promise. I think that's all the projects that are on my needles at the moment, actually. So next, we'll move on to the shelved projects. Let me just check it's still recording. Yes, success. Hacked the system by deleting some off my phone. So, first shelved project is my September sweater by Petite Knit. I don't need to say any more about Petite Knit's patterns. If you haven't heard of Petite Knit, why have you been living in a hole? Get out of the hole and go on her Instagram or her website. She is incredible. The Knit Purl girl, and I refer to her as a knitting queen. She's just, her patterns are incredible. I remember when I hadn't been knitting for that long, I used to look at her patterns and think I could never make one of them. They look so beautiful but also really intimidating because of some of the construction methods and stuff. But yeah, I suppose it shows how far you've come as a knitter, because now I'd be perfectly happy making her patterns, so that's nice. So yes, I've made 1.5 versions of the September sweater, and I'll just talk you through the 2 different versions. I only have one of them here because I gifted the second one to my mum for her Christmas present. So this one I have here is made with, as the original pattern recommended, 3 strands of mohair. I've used here Rowan Kid Silk Haze, which is stunning. It was my first experience of mohair and kind of my first experience of a higher end yarn, and I remember I ordered it soon after the first lockdown had started last year in March, April 2020 as a real treat, and it was a treat when it arrived. It's beautiful. Rowan Kid Silk Haze. This is in the colour Ghost, shade 00642, and like it, depending on the light, it's sometimes like silver, sometimes pale blue, sometimes grey, sometimes even looks a bit lilac. It's beautiful, it's really fluffy. This particular kid silk mohair is 70% mohair and 30% silk. The drops kid silk is 25% silk, 75% mohair. Yeah, really, really pretty. I'm not going to do a full like mohair comparison because I feel like Sophie has that covered. She's gone like full PhD researcher on the matter, and I'm in awe, and I'm so excited to see her research results. So I don't know if you've used Rowan in your research, Sophie. Be interested to know. Enough wittering, show me the knitting. It's a bit creased because it's been shelved in a bag, which I feel bad about, but it is just beautiful. Oops. It's so fluffy, it's so light, so warm. The front with like really gorgeous shaping around the neckline, and there's the back. I hacked the pattern and changed the neckline ribbing to twisted rib because I felt like it fit better with the brioche, and the same for the body ribbing, as you can see there, which was interesting to do a tubular bind off with actually. Not sure it's perfect for that, for the twisted rib, but because of the fluffiness of the mohair it doesn't really actually matter too much. I think I've got away with it, and I'm going to do the same on the cuffs as well. So yeah, I've just started one of the sleeves, so I think that'll be so nice when it's finished, ready for next autumn probably at this rate, although I think that this would be really nice for like summer evenings as well because it's so fluffy and warm. So that's my triple stranded mohair version. The one I don't have with me is the one I made for my mum for her Christmas present, and the reason that this is shelved is because for some reason partway through knitting this I decided I needed to make her one for Christmas and I needed to do it now. It's a good thing I did because it was still late, but essentially I didn't know how she would feel about like pure mohair, and it's not that practical, so I changed things a bit and made hers with one strand of mohair and one strand of drops air, which I have in here. I don't have the item because it's with her being well loved and well worn. Like every time I FaceTimed her in the winter she was wearing it, which I just loved. This is the drops air. It's really squishy, really light. If you haven't used it, I'd really recommend it. It's really good value. It's a blown yarn. I don't know if you can see there, but it like kind of like this kind of chain effect with the fluffy fibres stuck in. And it's, I have written this down, 28% polyamide, 7% wool and 65% alpaca, so all the good stuff. Gorgeous. And then I held that with a strand of, again, drops kid silk mohair. This is light steel blue, I think shade 7. I will clarify again. So that was the combination, and it made for like such a different sweater to the one that I've just got out of the bag there, the triple strand of mohair. Like, it's insane that one pattern can make two completely different sweaters. And when I finished both of them, maybe I'll do a little comparison, because yeah, amazing, same pattern, but it's just completely different. It has, this one has a lot more like structure and bite to it and just feels more like robust, whereas that's more like floaty and fuzzy and delicate. Both have their benefits, they're just so different. But yeah, I'm glad I made this one for Mum. I think it would be a bit warmer and a bit more practical, and maybe a bit softer against the skin as well, because this is really, really soft and lovely. The only other thing I've written down is that, like, whilst this is shelved and it's a shame that it's not finished and I can't wear it yet, like, I kind of don't mind, because the mohair, the Rowan mohair, is so like luxury and like delicious and like lovely. every time I get it out and even knit like just a few rounds, like I really enjoy it. Like it's kind of quite mindful in a way, because I'm like, this is such a lovely yarn and I don't want it to end. I don't get that like, let's rush through the project, I just want it to be finished so I can wear it with that as much. I don't quite know why. I don't know if it's like the circumstances I bought the yarn in, not sure. So I don't mind having it on the back burner and getting it out occasionally. Haven't made any progress on it for a while, but yeah, that will be finished one day, as will all the other things. So next, just have a few more things to show you. There's not that much to say about the next one. It's a self-draft that's shelved like all the other self-drafts, made with Hobby Diabolo, really fluffy, really fun yarn, mohair nylon acrylic blend, so really different to other like pure mohairs. It does feel more synthetic, obviously, because it is, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just feels very soft and like fluffy in a different way to the other like pure mohairs. I think this is in your comparison, Sophie. Love the colour as well, cobalt, adding to the like let's go bold with colour thing that I am trying to do. So I bought this in a Black Friday sale in November, and it's really reasonably priced anyway because of its content, but made it really reasonably priced. So I bought sweater quantities of this with the intention of making the waffle sweater by Knitting for Olive, and then for some bizarre reason a couple of weeks ago I just got an urge to cast on something like really chunky mohairy, and I thought, do you know what, this didn't cost that much money. If it goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. So this is the product of scratching that particular itch so far. There's not that much to see, but essentially will be some kind of Raglan top down cardigan thing. Essentially I've just made like making the yoke with some increases at the front at the moment. I might add like an I-cord front or neckline. I've not done that before. I think it would look quite nice, and maybe a pocket of some kind, make it like a longer line cardigan. I like the fabric that it's made. It's 9mm needles, so I only spent like a day making this, like it knits up really quickly. I like the fabric that it's made. It's quite like, it's like chunky and warm and fluffy, but like kind of airy at the same time. And it's held, this is 5 strands of mohair at once, so it's got a lot going on, and the colour is just great. I love it. That's all there is to say on that, I think. I'm paranoid it's not recording again, so sorry for the interruptions. Right, the next one, there is quite a lot to say on, for various reasons. So it's another self-draft, another shelved project, but probably the one I'm most keen to like get out again and get working on when I can. I'll explain why. So this is, I haven't got a name for it yet other than just referring to it as the Fisherman's rib sweater. I think, I don't know, it's not much at the moment, but I am quite proud of it. And I think it has got legs to become something. I just need to make some changes because it's not right, but it was the first thing I ever tried to draft, so it was never going to be perfect. Essentially, it's a top-down Raglan design with a folded collar in 1x1 rib, the body in stockinette, as you can see, with some short row shaping, which I'd probably like to make a bit more to that back. And then these statement Fisherman's rib sleeves, which are fabulous, but too big. Like there's balloon and then there's this. If I hold it up against me, like the armpit is like down here, like it's really big. I didn't want them to be quite that big. I think it's just a bit of a challenge because obviously this is all these are the same needle size, not this, but these two stitches use the same needle size, and like you can see they're so different. Like these stockinette stitches are quite small, and this is on 4.5mm needles. They're just normal stockinette stitches, but then this is the same needle size and the stitches are so different and they behave really differently. They stretch that way, they stretch that way, and I think that's what's led to the sleeve being so big. Also, I think I probably could have stopped the increasing earlier than I did. I just found it a bit difficult to gauge how wide it was. So yeah, I just basically need to frog it and work on the sleeve. I might go down a needle size, I might just have less of the sleeve cast on at the neck at the beginning. I really like it. I love the contrast of the sleeve and the stockinette. I feel like if it works, I could use it as a basis for like other contrasting sleeve patterns. Like there's a whole world out there. I like how the Raglan separates them, and I like how at the top you've got these 3 different stitches, the 1x1 rib, the stockinette and the Fisherman's rib. So I think it would be really nice when it's done. When it's done. So it's made from Filcolana Arwetta. Caroline's knit says Arvetta, and I feel like she knows how to pronounce these things. So Caroline Arvetta, I'm trusting you. This was purchased from Knit Yarns. My first purchase from Knit Yarns. Simona, let's plug her while I'm here. She's fab. She's got a great range of yarns in her shop and also accessories. Her service is like first rate. She's so speedy. She's lovely. She's like such a nice person to chat to. She's so knowledgeable. She really generously sponsored my 3K giveaway a few weeks ago, as you'll probably remember. Yeah, she's just brilliant, excellent human, fantastic yarns, love her. Keep doing what you do. So this is the Arvetta in Marzipan. It's 20% nylon, 80% superwash merino. This was, is this held double? No, single, held with 1 strand of drops kid silk again. Seem to be flashing a lot of the drops kid silk around. It's just a good standard mohair, isn't it, especially for holding double with stuff. This is the shade Off-White, and it's shade code number 1, I believe. Yeah, and as previously mentioned, it's 75% mohair, 25% silk. It's ever so slightly itchy, I think. I'm not super sensitive, but I am a little bit sensitive, as Caroline says, like around the neck area. But I haven't, like this isn't washed and blocked, so it may soften up a little bit. I think it's this that's being itchy rather than this. But this can easily be substituted, like holding a mohair double-stranded with another yarn, you can interchange them, can't you, really? So I don't think that'll be a problem for the more sensitive ones out there, and you could probably even sub it with baby Suri alpaca, possibly. That's a big statement with not much knowledge behind it, but it's a possibility. Gauge swatch, everybody. So yeah, that's what this is made from. This is like a special project for a few reasons. Firstly, because it's the first one that I kind of like imagined and made up on my own, but equally because of like how it came about. I'll talk about it more. I'm hoping to do like collaborate with Tom from Knit Slips and his crafting and mental health project that he's gonna have coming up. But I think as a combination of COVID, working as a doctor during COVID, and just everything, my mental health deteriorated massively in October, November of last year. I was working in psychiatry at the time, which was ironic, and I just remember thinking like, I can't help people with their mental health when I feel like this. And that was a really horrible feeling, and I think I just got completely burnt out and felt awful. So I ended up essentially taking some time away from work for about 6 weeks, went and stayed with my parents in Devon, which was amazing to be able to do that. I essentially just went and lived with them for 6 weeks, and there was lots of like fresh air and talking and walking, and it was brilliant, and I'll always be really grateful to them for those 6 weeks. But time away from work and like the triggers for anxiety and just being surrounded by COVID all the time at work and at home, and everyone wanted to talk about it, and just it was just way too much. So it was good to escape it, but while I was there I kind of felt like I didn't really have a purpose, because like I go to work and I wasn't going to work, and I felt like guilty about that on various levels, and my mum and dad were going to work, so I just kind of was like in the house sometimes, just in their house, just on my own, feeling a bit useless, which is completely wrong, and it was time for healing, and like I needed the time that it wasn't useless, and that's how I saw it, and that's what anxiety and mental health stuff does to your brain, isn't it? It tells you unhelpful things and you believe it, and it perpetuates a cycle. So that was kind of a problem in the solution, but one day I just decided, like, why don't I just use all this time I have to try like self-drafting and designing knitting pattern, because it's something I've always wanted to do. I've never known quite how to start it. I've always thought that's going to take a lot of time, and that's something I don't have, and suddenly now I do have all this time, so why don't I try it? So I like swatched with some yarn I already had, and then I made my order from Simona, and I just started knitting, and this happened. I kind of had an idea in my head of what I wanted it to look like, and it does look mostly like it. Like I said, it just needs some tweaks. And it sounds really cliched, and I'm not a fan of cliches. I think there's a time and a place, but like it definitely did give me a bit more of a sense of purpose, and like physically doing something with your time that you can see, creating something with each 10 minutes, half an hour, day that goes by, and something growing like physically in front of your eyes. Like I can't express how good that was for me to be able to like see progress. Does that make sense? I don't think I'm explaining it very well. I'm sure people will be able to relate. I'd be interested to know if you can, and I think that's one of the reasons that crafting is so good for our mental health, because like you do something with your hands, you occupy yourself, and you see a result, and that's really gratifying, and like we all need that, don't we, from time to time, aside from all the other benefits like distraction and concentration and mindfulness and all that stuff. So yeah, this pattern, when it becomes a pattern, I think will mean a lot. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. It's been on, like, I've kind of shown you pictures as I was making it on my Instagram feed at the time, and it does need some tweaks, but I hope I'll be able to work on it over the summer. I just need to brave the frogging and the consequences of doing that with mohair, I suppose. Might try like soaking the yarn, freezer tricks, pull out all the stops to frog, maybe even back to the collar, and just rework. This really helped me to like find a focus again and like start getting back to where I am now. I'm not like, it's not gone away, it's like obviously everything's still happening, but like I'm a lot better than I was. And you know, as a result of what happened, like I now don't work full-time, I work 80%, which has made a big difference, and that wouldn't have happened if that whole thing hadn't have happened. So good stuff has come out of it, and things are hopefully changing, and life hopefully will get back to normal soon, although it's okay to feel like it's too soon, and there's definitely a lot of that going on in my head as well. Wow, didn't mean to deep dive. Welcome to my brain. I think that's all I'll say about that one. So there's just 2 quick things left to show you. Neither of which actually exist yet, to be fair, so they will be really quick. I should say before I show you this, not this yarn, but the pattern that I'm going to make with this yarn was gifted to me by, very kindly by Avec Anna. Lovely Anna contacted me and asked if I wanted to be part of a knit along of her patterns. The hashtag is knit out, that's KNITOUTKAL 21. So if you put that into Instagram, you'll be able to see other people taking part. And she essentially offered to gift a pattern if I would like to make one of her patterns. And I actually hadn't heard of Anna before she contacted me, full disclosure, but I looked through her patterns and they're gorgeous. Like, I'm not saying this because she has gifted me a pattern. They are really pretty. They're kind of like up my street, I would say. They are on like quite small needles, and they're kind of 4-ply to DK weight patterns. So they all will take a while, I think, but that's okay. It makes them really pretty and delicate. She's got a range of things for women and for children. Some of them match, which is really cute. I'm going to make the Rosa tee, which is really pretty. I've not made anything like that before. A knitted t-shirt essentially, with a little bit of lace on the raglan and picot edging, which I've never done before. So that'll be a challenge. And to make it, I ordered from trusty Simona Knit Yarns some Filcolana Messy, which I've never used before, but I've seen other people using and I really wanted to try it. And it was the recommended yarn for the Rosa tee, so I thought perfect. This is in the shade white. It's 1090 and it's 50% merino, 50% cotton, and it's really, really soft. It's lovely. It's very, very thin. I think the pattern's like, I think it's 3mm needles. So it's going to take a while, but it's like a cropped t-shirt, so nowhere near as long as a sweater would take. The knit along is running from May to July, so I need to get my skates on because I haven't cast it on yet. Sorry, Anna. I'm excited to join in before the knit along is over, and then hopefully make a nice summer top in this lovely white colour. Need to be careful because I burn this, and sun, not a good combination. And I'm so much better than I used to with sun cream, but sun cream and this colour do not mix well. So I need to pick my timing with wearing this, I think. But yeah, really excited. I think a white t-shirt will just go really nicely with loads of like skirts, shorts, trousers. Yeah, lovely, and can be layered, you know, with like shirts over the top or whatever in the autumn. So really excited to cast that on. Hope to be able to cast it on in the next week or so. And the last thing, which is not a whip yet, it's an idea, which some of you will have seen, was this idea that divided the knitting Instagram community, which I kind of feel a bit weird about, but also kind of think kind of fun. So I don't know if anyone remembers, but I like discussed it in my stories and said, what do you think? And people gave some really honest opinions, which I was really grateful for. But my idea was this contrast raglan idea. So I tried loads of different ways of doing it. I'm not very good at colour work. I've not really done any before. So why I thought I could just waltz in and do a colour work raglan, I don't know. It was silly. Needless to say, it didn't go very well. Put that idea in the bin. However, this is duplicate stitch, which is a form of cheating, probably, but I got the inspiration from Petite knit Scotty sweater, which I always thought was some like insane tartan crisscross colourwork situation, but it's duplicate stitch, which blew my mind because it looks amazing, and why not have an easier life? So I thought, do you know what, I'll try it. So I did this original swatch in Filcolana, Arvetta, Marzipan, and some juicy green that I have for another project, which I haven't even got round to putting in this video. And yeah, I did 2 types of duplicate stitch. That's over the whole raglan, and that is over the middle stitches of the raglan, leaving the increases, which you can see, like the little holes there, not included in the duplicate stitch. And most people, including myself, preferred this one. I think this is a bit like clumsy, is that the right word? So yeah, thought that's quite fun. So instead of just being a normal human with all of this, I say this is where I've just shoved all the whips that I've just showed you, and waiting, I just was really excited to try the Sadness Gone Double Sunday by Petite yarn. So I was like, ooh, this green and this like neutral colour would look amazing. And I'd seen that the Double Sunday Petite Knit colours included a really bright blue, green and orange, and like with the theme of trying to brighten up my colour palette, including with like pops of colour. I was like, that would look really cool. So again, ordered from Knit Yarns from Simona, because she literally was just about to get it in stock. So I placed like a pre-order, which was so lovely of her. Thank you, Simona, for putting them to one side. And yeah, here they are. Aren't they fun? So nice, so squidgy, like thicker than I thought it would be somehow. I don't know why, but just amazing. I've never used any Sadness before, so I'm really excited to try it. This is Statement Green, this is Whipped Cream, and I think they look fab together. I think the contrast is better than this contrast. The white just, well, the cream stands out a bit more than the marzipan with the green. So I have swatched. This is on 4.5mm needles, I think. Made quite a nice fabric, 2 different sizes of raglan, and then this swatch is on 4mm needles, I think. Quite sturdy, that fabric, not as much stretch, which I can't decide if I like or not. And I have duplicate stitched this one over the raglan, so that's a larger raglan with 3 stitches, and this is the smaller one with 2, and I can't decide which one I like better. What do you think? It's really hard to tell just from this swatch, isn't it? Because, like, say that was there, well, this expanse of cream would be much bigger than this. So it's hard to tell if this is like, because I think it looks too big on this swatch maybe, but it will be a bigger expanse, so I'm not sure. We'll see. This has been washed and blocked, and I quite like how it's dried. Yeah, so I'm wondering about this contrast raglan maybe coming under here in the back as well, and then meeting under the arm and down the side, maybe. But it's quite fun. I think the finished like look is really cool, and it's just a bit different, isn't it? I've never seen anything like it. Probably because to do it in colour work would be a nightmare. You can't keep track of what colour your increases are, and trying to carry over floats. No, thank you. So yeah, that is not even a whip yet. It's an idea, it's a swatch, but obviously I've bought a sweater quantity of yarn because I can't be stopped. All 8 whips discussed. Maybe now you see what I mean by like project panic. There's so much going on right now that I can never decide what to work on. Caroline's Knits talked about this a bit in her latest podcast, which I watched this morning, and it like resonated with me so much what she was saying about kind of feeling like you always have to have something on the go and you always have to have something finished. And she actually said that starting to create her content as she has like fed that a bit, and she's not sure she likes that. So I hope that doesn't happen with this. I don't think it will, because I've just managed to create a whole episode with no finished objects, so but I thought it was really interesting what she was saying, and like I agreed. And it's like there's so many projects that I'm not sure which one to work on, so I like work on a bit of one, but I don't make that much progress, so it's not very tangible what I've achieved, because I'm working on like, I'm like, oh, I should work on this one for a bit, and this one, and this one, and this one. And so they each get a little bit of progress, and it doesn't feel like that much. So I should probably just sit down and focus on one, but life's busy, and the point of having multiple whips is that you've got variety, but I think this has got a bit extreme. I think, do you know what, it's actually helped loads doing this video. It's what I hoped would happen. It's like clarified in my mind what I've got on and what needs to be sorted first. The ones that are shelved, I think, are going to have to stay shelved for now. I would like to, with the priority to come off the shelf, being awarded to the Fisherman's rib sweater. What do you think? 8 whips? Is that like more than you've got? Are you okay with having that kind of number? Is it causing you stress? Stress is the wrong word, because it's like, it's knitting, it's not stress, but it is in a different way, I suppose. The other thing I just wanted to briefly touch on, done the knit, now we're doing the natter, although no knitting has taken place within this podcast, is the idea of like custom orders. I don't want this to come out the wrong way, so I'm going to be careful how I phrase it. And anyone who has asked me for a custom order, this is not me saying I wish you hadn't, or I regret saying yes, or anything like that. Like, this is an opinion I have formed only through the process of doing custom orders. I feel like I've slowly come to realise that doing custom orders is not for me, and not how I want like my knitting journey and like Hive knits to progress. There's pros and cons, definitely. Let's talk about the pros first, because positivity. So it's really flattering, isn't it, when someone says, oh my word, I love that, could you make me one? Like, that's a compliment, and that's really nice. Someone's seen your work and would like you to make them something. That's a positive, definitely. I use it as an excuse to buy yarn. Like, you know, if I'm making for family and friends, which is all I really do, I don't really have like commercial custom orders. If I'm making for family and friends, I just say to them, buy the yarn, buy the materials, and that's fine. Like, I don't charge them for time. So it essentially means I get to knit something that I didn't pay for. Yes, I don't get to keep it at the end of it, but I get the experience of making that. And if it's something like the popcorn bomber, like, that was incredible because I learnt to steek, but I didn't have to pay for the yarn. Yes, I didn't get to keep the finished cardigan, but it felt like a free pass to like learn a new skill. Like, I'd never have probably learned steeking now if it wasn't for that project, because I didn't even realise that it had steeking in it, which is probably why. But like, from that perspective, you know, someone's going to essentially buy me yarn to make something with, and then I give back the finished product. Like, that's fun. Also, like, the concept, probably going back to like the compliment, like the concept of word of mouth, like, it's quite fun how now at work everyone in the A&E department like knows that I knit, and I've had a few commissions come from the same department and like friends of those people, which is nice. Like, and you know, like I go in sometimes and people are like, oh my word, like, I didn't know that you did this, and they've maybe seen my Instagram, and that's really lovely. I love having this thing outside of work, and it's kind of fun when people from work realise and ask me about it. So all those things are really positive. However, there's definitely some negatives, and I think for me they outweigh the positives. Pricing is the elephant in the room. It's a huge thing. It's the big one. Like I said, friends and family, I just charge them for the materials. I think that's the right thing to do, but it does leave you in a bit of a sticky situation with regards to your time. Because like, knitting takes time, especially if it's like a fine project on small needles with fine yarn. It is going to take time, and I think it's fine as long as you enjoy what you're doing. Like the steeking thing, amazing. Like, yes, I used my time, but I felt like my skills really developed from that project, so that's amazing. But I have had people contact me. I don't know if anyone else has had this, like strangers or like friends of friends of friends of friends removed, contact me through Instagram and say, oh my god, I love this, could you make me one? And because they're not a friend or family, like I need to charge them more than just the materials, because like I don't owe them anything, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. And I have not had one single person who, when I have like totted up the charge, and it's only an estimate, and I reckon I massively undervalue my time, because like I kind of work it out very roughly. If you want to hear someone go on a really great rant about this and why you should charge what you should charge for your knitwear, finished products, knititude, just, I'll say no more, but I listened to some of her like lives about this and really changed my opinion. But yeah, if you charge for the materials and have an estimate at the time it will take you, and then charge minimum wage, suddenly you're looking at like 80 to 100 quid for a cardigan like this for a toddler. And understandably, people don't want to pay that generally. I don't know if it's a mixture of like thinking practically, like they'll grow out of it, or not appreciating like the time and work that goes into a handmade garment. It's probably a bit of both. So yeah, I'll not rant on about that anymore, but pricing is a major thing, and into that comes timing. And then also, I couldn't even read my own writing. I think the last thing that's like a bit of a negative about it, and I think what's got me into this rut at the minute, and again, this is not to say that I regret taking on these custom orders. Like, I like the fact that I've made things for people. I just don't think I'll do any more after these. Like, I feel like I need to prioritise them over other stuff. Like, I would really like to start frogging and reworking on my Fisherman's rib sweater, but I feel like because someone's paid me for the materials, yes, not for my time, but for the materials, and I've given them a rough estimate of when it will be ready by, and I always caveat it by, you know, full-time job, on-calls, life, blah, blah, blah. I still feel like I need to prioritise those ones. And then when you do that, and you feel like you're on a deadline, I think that's when the stress starts to come in, and that's when it becomes slightly less enjoyable. Not unenjoyable, but less enjoyable, and that's not what it's about. So yeah, I think it's been a learning process, and for me personally, I have decided that after the ones I've got, I'm not going to do any more. You know, like if I want to make a gift for someone, that's different, but if someone just says, oh, can you make this? I'm not just going to be like, yeah, because it's not quite as simple as that, and I didn't realise it's not quite as simple as that. A little bit more natter, just a little bit. I just like, it's kind of fun having done this podcast, and it's like, oh, what's going to happen in the future, and will I be able to do more? I hope so, but I'm not going to set myself any like, I will do this many a month, or I will do one every month, or because like my life and rota just don't really work like that. Sometimes I'll have loads of time for knitting and make loads of progress, and sometimes I won't. So I think I'll just do another when I've got something to say, which is probably better for everyone involved. And I think the future for me of knitting and Hive knits is going to be like a bit more selfish knitting, channeling my inner Penrose knits, because she said that in her first podcast, and I like really resonated with me. So maybe I'll make that a resolution for myself for next year. Less custom makes. I'd really like to start making some patterns. Like the thoughts are coming and like the ideas are coming. It's just having the time to like properly sit down and like draft them and frog and work out the mistakes. But it will be worth it. Like definitely. Like I'll be so proud when I manage to make a pattern and hopefully release it. And who knows, maybe I can even make like, I'd love to be able to make some kind of business out of Hive knits. Like I'm a doctor and that's my job, but I am not one of these people whose job is their life, and I would be more than happy to have two things going on, and that's one of the things that drew me to train as a GP, because you can be more flexible. So yeah, I'd love to entertain the thought that maybe one day I could do my doctoring but also do like knitting stuff for an income, whatever shape or form that may take. And I'm going to leave it there because who knows what the future holds. In terms of future podcasts, if I do any more, when I do any more, let's say when, that's more optimistic. What would you want to see? Do you care? Have you enjoyed this one? Is it all waffle? Shall I be quiet? Would you want the same as this? Like, some people have done like yarn stash ones. I apparently have more of a project stash than a yarn stash. I do have a yarn stash as well, but a lot of it is partly worked into things without one sleeve apparently. How-to videos, interviews, like I love Knit Slips podcast, interviewing people. Would that be something that you'd enjoy? Maybe more detail on like a single project rather than an overview of everything I've got going on. Pattern and yarn reviews, I know some people like do those and I really enjoy watching them. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just maybe tell me in the comments or like message me privately with any feedback, because like this is really new, never done this before, not really sure like how it's gone. Probably cringe when I edit it, but let me know what you think. Let me know if and what you'd like to see more of. Yeah, finally, I need your help. So back in January, I started the Grow the Knitting Network hashtag. So anyone that doesn't know, every Sunday I like do a shout out to, it started as 5, now 10 accounts with like a small following to try and grow the knitting network and encourage people to discover more accounts and like appreciate each other and shout at each other and just try and grow the community and showcase each other, because I think that's so positive. And social media is such a, can be great, can be awful, and I think that's just an amazing side of it, like being able to showcase other people's work and use your, I'm not saying I have a platform of influence, because I don't think I do, like my following is not large, it's not tiny but it's not large, but like just being able to use whatever platform you do have to be like, I've discovered this person and I think their work's really great, I think you guys should maybe take a look and appreciate them. I just think it's great, and I'm amazed I've managed to keep it going for so long. I looked up earlier, 22 weeks worth of shout outs, so they weren't all 10, but it went to 10 quite quickly, so that's nearly 220 different accounts, which is amazing, if my maths is right. Sorry, my phone cut out again. I need to be quick, we've got no storage left. What I'm trying to say is I need to decide what to do with Grow the Knitting Network, because I've only got about 2 weeks worth of accounts left, only about 20 or so, 21, 22. So I either continue it, in which case I need your help, please, to like shout out some new small accounts and I'll add them to my list and it can continue, or if it's run its course, it can stop. It doesn't need to carry on forever. All good things come to an end. That's completely fine. I just wondered what you thought, because I need to make a decision soon, or it could become something else. Who knows? Let me know what you think about that, about the podcast, anything. Always open for a chat. If anyone ever needs to talk, then please know that I am always willing to be an ear. That's not a problem at all. Just send me a message. Yeah, I'll say bye now. Really hope you enjoyed it. Hope to do this again soon. Take care, guys. Bye.